Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here with me today. I'm Chef Devin Rajkumar. I work with the Food Dudes. We're a Toronto-based catering company, and we work with a lot of celebrities, a lot of high-end profile clients, such as Ivanka Trump, the mayor of Toronto, Steve Nash, and a lot of really, really popular political and celebrity figures in the city. A multicultural show where I would cook some fusion dishes, like we would take quesadillas or a mango salad, and I would include a traditional Korean ingredient. So today, I'll be infusing kimchi into a few different things that I do. I want to show you a different way that we can use gochujang as well, which is the red pepper or the red bean paste that you have. That's also very spicy. So I'm going to get right into it. Right before I start though, if you have any questions whatsoever while I'm conducting the class, you can just raise your hand or simply just say, hey chef, or hey Devin, why are you doing it this way? Can this be done another way? So if I'm going too fast at any time, just please let me know, because we have a lot to cover in this short time frame here. So first dish that I want to get on with you was the mango salad. And this is not going to be your traditional mango salad because it will include kimchi in it. So first we're going to start with a bowl. And I have some of the fruits and vegetables already prepped out over here. But I'll show you how simple this is. If you wanted to chop up a mango at home, you could. This is just chopped mango if you have a mandolin, or you can peel it and slice it. There's a lot of people. We're going to do it all, okay? We're going to do it all. Same over here, we have red peppers. So I'm going to put in some red peppers. I do want the majority of this to be mango. That is a regular standard mango. You can use Alfonso, or you can use any type of mango that you want, just based on the sweetness and sourness. You can adjust that after. This is the standard mango, the really big one, but if you want to use Alfonso or a Julie mango or a different type of mango, you could. But you do want a mango that's kind of firm. If you have a mango that's too soft, then it's not going to work out. It'll just fall apart.
Slicing, because you slice it so thin and such regular size, it looks perfect. How do you do it?
The mango, I take the mango and I peel it with a peeler, and then you just have to slice off pieces, and then you go across.
So there's no shortcut?
There is a shortcut. If you do it 1,000 times, I promise you'll be faster after. Because I've done it about 1,000 times. So there really is no shortcut. You just have to get into it and do it. So into this, so far it's just the mango, green pepper, red pepper. You can see, as of right now, the color is amazing already. How I would take apart a red pepper, this might not be the same way you take apart a red pepper. A little bit off the top at first, a little bit off the bottom, and we keep those pieces for later. You see you have these holes in the pepper. So just take your knife and cut right down that hole, right to the bottom. Turn it on its side, slide your knife, bring it off the cutting board if you can, and it just rolls. And you can take out the middle, just like that. Okay, and then you get this guy right here. Just like that, okay? So if you want, you can break this down into more manageable pieces. This membrane, which is really white, it doesn't offer much flavor. So in the industry, at our kitchen, what we do is just kind of run our knife along that, and we take some of that out, and you can see how much brighter red it gets. And that's also going to be less water in your mango salad. So I'll just take a little bit of that out. It's called the membrane. It's not too important to have in there. And then across we would, if you chop up the red pepper on the skin outside, it's much harder to chop. But if you turn it over, it'll be much easier. And then we just go across. And this technique will take you a while. But you know, you can get it really fine, you can do it really fast. And you have to, the best tool you'll have in the kitchen is a sharp knife. When your fingers are curled in, kind of like an eagle's claw when you're cutting, it's impossible to cut yourself. If you have your hands out while you're cutting, chances are you will. But like this, the blade is always going to be along your middle finger. So if I do that, then you know I don't even have to look. It's going to come out really well. This is a Wusthof knife. Some of the best brands in the world are Global or Henkel. There's quite a few different types. So I'll just add that to the red pepper I have there. Again, with the top and bottom, you can throw that piece out, but this is definitely a good snack. Or you can also julienne that across. So getting back to the mango salad, I'm going to put some lime juice in here. This is not really a very traditional mango salad, but this is the way that I do it. We're gonna add lime juice so we can get some citrus in there, some bite. If you have a juicer, great. I don't recommend using the lime juice that you can buy in the store. I recommend always juicing the limes. So roughly the juice of 1 lime is in there. Next to that, I would add some honey. So if you see what I'm doing so far, you have the freshness of the vegetables. You have the citrus from the lime juice for that bite. So now we're gonna add some sweetness to it. It's all about getting some balance in there. We'll put a little bit more. With the honey or sugar, if you're adding it to your mango salad, if your mangoes are very sweet, you don't have to add that much honey or sugar to it. If they're very tart and sour, sugar will cut that tartness. So you'd add a bit more honey. So I'm not gonna add too much more. Into this, a little bit of salt to taste. If you're wondering, it's probably about half a teaspoon that I put in there. I don't want that much in there. That looks like sea salt that's there, but I'd recommend, you can use any type of salt that you want. These days, everyone is trying to be very healthy, so I know sea salt's very popular, or rock salt. But, in the kitchen, we go through smoked salt and all kinds of cool different things. So far we have the mango, the red pepper, the green pepper. Everyone seen these before? Okay, I like to buy them fresh. These are fairly fresh as well, though, because of the way they seal them. The same way you might get your greens or your lettuce, how it's already sealed off. They actually infuse this with a type of chemical, a safe chemical, a healthy one, that preserves this for longer. It gives it a longer shelf life. So I would recommend buying these because you can keep them for about a week at home and they stay crunchy. It's always good to check though. It smells like bean sprouts to me. So we're gonna add some bean sprouts. You can see, you can't see, but we have red, green, white, yellow. I wouldn't put a yellow pepper through this for any reason. I wouldn't put a cucumber because I want to get a little bit of every color. Basil would go very well. Anything else? Cilantro. And I think I heard the one I want here. Mint. Why do mint and cilantro go well with mango? It's tropical. It's fresh. It's got punch to it. So I have mint. And I have cilantro here as well. Mint's also very good to garnish with, so very, very cool. Whenever you get your fresh herbs at home, you can kind of just squeeze them up into a ball. It doesn't matter if they're gonna get bruised or anything like that. It's okay because at the end of the day, they're gonna get chopped up. And the same technique, you can go very slowly if you want, that's fine. But if you roll it up into a ball and keep pressing it against the knife, you can get a fairly decent chop. Anytime you have leaves like basil or mint, take the leaves and stack them on top of each other. Just like this. Stack them all up on top of each other. I like a lot of mint, so I'm gonna go a little bit more. You stack them all up and then you can kind of just roll it onto itself. Just roll it up like that and then you cut across. Instead of just chopping the whole leaves, when you roll them all up into each other, you get way more cuts every time you put the knife through. So you get a much finer product at the end. There's nothing better than fresh herbs, so I use a lot of fresh herbs when I cook. So mango, red pepper, green pepper, bean sprouts, cilantro and mint. I put a little bit of honey to taste. So you see the elements I'm putting into this. A lot of times when you cook, there's the sweetness from the honey and the mango. There's the freshness and that bite from the peppers that are in there. You have the lime juice for the citrus, that pop, that acid. Then you have the fresh herbs, cilantro and mint for that freshness. So every time I cook, I try to hit all these different layers. So when it goes into your mouth, it's sweet, it's spicy, it's tart, it's salty, all those things. All those things are satisfied. So I have a pair of tongs here. Would anyone else add anything else? Would anyone else here add anything else to this dish? Anything else? There's a lot of things you could do, but I'd add a little bit of sesame oil.
Sesame seeds.
Sesame seeds you could add as well. Just because you said that, I'm gonna add sesame seeds to it. So you're a chef too.
What's that?
These are just roasted off sesame seeds. It was a suggestion, so I had them. Why not use them? So a little bit of sesame oil, a little bit of sesame seeds, the salt's in there. You can go ahead and give this a toss. Just like so. And what I'm gonna add to this is some chili honey shrimp that I'm gonna do for you right now. So best thing to do is get your pan very, very hot, and I'll demonstrate this for you from start to finish. So the heat is pretty hot. If you're at home on a scale of 1 to 10, this would be around 6 or 7. You want very high heat for this. I get in trouble at home when I cook with this high heat because it makes a mess of the kitchen, and my mom has to clean it, and she's not impressed, no matter how good the food tastes. So this is gonna give a good toss. This mango was actually fairly ripe, so it's actually breaking down a little bit, but it's totally okay. What's a really important thing to do when you're at home cooking before you serve your guests? So let's say we're at home, we got it to this point. What's the one thing you want to do before you send it out? Sorry? Taste it, great. Do you want to come taste this for me and see if it's seasoned? I trust you though. Okay, well, if anyone else, I'll just give it a quick taste. You will love me. Promise. So the pan is hot, it's getting very hot. Vegetable oil. Whenever you're cooking on really high heat or cooking with oil at all, you don't ever want to use olive oil or even extra virgin olive oil. You burn out those olive flavors and those olive qualities that you spent the money on.
Grapeseed oil.
Grapeseed oil, that's also a good healthy alternative. We use veg oil and corn oil a lot at the kitchen that I work at. So get your oil into the pan. The pan's been heating up. You want to get it really hot. What I'm going to demonstrate for you is what we call chili honey shrimp. So I have some black tiger shrimp here. And what I did was, simply, when you buy your shrimp, as so, I took the shell off it. You can leave the tail on if you want. I took it off in this case, just to get it done a little bit quicker. But when you have the shrimp, and it's not deveined, you have to take your knife. You can do it flat on the cutting board, it's a lot safer, but you have to take your knife and go through the back, I'm sure as everyone knows, to get rid of that vein, that sticky vein that's in there. It's not good for you. If you take it a step further, and you take it down a little bit more, just a little bit more, like so, it kind of fans out a bit. And you get a much neater end product. So I'll fry these off for you and you'll see what happens. Instead of the shrimp curling up like this, it curls up and fans out and it'll be open. Very simple to do. It's like you think it's a big restaurant secret. That's really all that you do. And I'll show you again. So you take your shrimp just like this. It's obviously in the curl. And you just go around the back of it. Just around the back like that. And that'll give you that butterfly effect like that. If you don't know how hot your oil is in the pan, take anything you have around. Like for example, I have a bean sprout here. Because you do not want to put the shrimp in the pan if you're trying to get good color marks on it. You don't want to put the shrimp in the pan if it's not hot enough. So just drag something through it and it's definitely hot. Super hot. So the shrimp's ready to go in. I'll do this away from you. So we have the shrimp in the pan now. And now it's time to add some seasoning to it. I'll first hit it with a bit of salt, not too much. I'll use the same tongs, the same dish. Kind of flatten them out if you can. And already, as you'll see when I plate it up, they're starting to curl up. Now, as I said, this is a chili honey shrimp. So the chili I'm gonna add in shortly, but if you were to go ahead and add the honey to it now, it would burn. So we're not gonna do that. If you wanted to add garlic or onion to this, it wouldn't be a bad idea at all. It would actually be a fantastic idea. But I'll keep it really simple. I'm gonna let the mango salad do the talking for this dish. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of lemon juice to it. I'm just kind of flipping them over, just so they get evenly cooked. So lemon juice and seafood, very important. Just gonna catch the seeds. Unless anyone wants seeds, I can keep those for you. I don't like them, very bitter. And at this point, I'm just gonna add the honey. If you add the honey too soon, it's gonna burn in the pan. If you want, we can start plating up the mango salad, and then I'll put the shrimp on top. So I'm gonna give this a good toss. You don't wanna overcook it. And look at this product that you get now. Does everyone see that? How it curls up like that? And it's so simple, and it's so much better than just doing the shrimp normally. Another cool thing with this is that it also stands up on the plate a lot better as well, as opposed to just your standard shrimp. So if you put a few of these around, it would look very pretty. Shrimp's done. I'm just gonna take the heat off because I don't want to overcook it any more than it is. What you can do is just take a little bit like this, right in the middle. just like so. I'll cut the shrimp in half. If you overcook the shrimp, it's going to become very rubbery and tough. And if you undercook it, this is right in between. Another thing to note is that if you leave the shrimp in the pan, it's actually just going to keep cooking. So you want to get it out of there as soon as possible. Now to this, what I would like to add, I love using parsley because it doesn't offer too much flavor, but it offers beautiful color. So I'm just going to put a little sprinkling of parsley on top. It's going to give it a really nice color. And I'll put them in the plate, one, and you can put one neatly onto it. I'll move on to something else, that's why. If that's all right. And this would be a kimchi mango salad. You could mix the kimchi into the mango salad, but it kind of loses the texture and it kind of gets lost. So I like to chop it up separately, and I'll just get a fork and a plate to do so. And I would put this right on top of the shrimp. The shrimp can go down, Wonsuck, if you like. Has anyone had a kimchi mango salad before, anywhere? I know kimchi is not often chopped up, but I find when you chop it up, you have way more uses for it. Yeah. What I would do is you could do it like that. You could fine dice it if you like, but I will make it stringy, just like the mango salad.
After the kimchi was on top.
And just a little bit of kimchi right on top of that shrimp. So it's a kimchi chili honey shrimp.
I'll get you a fork very soon too.
Also, you can have someone walk around and offer out some more shrimp. If you want to add more chili to this dish or more sweetness to it, you definitely can. It's all about how you control it at home. Any other questions so far on that? Was that fairly straightforward? Fairly simple. How does it taste, whoever's tasting it right now? Nice and sweet. Not too spicy, right? Again, if you want more acid, if you want it to have more tang, you can add more lime juice to it. You can add lemon juice, orange juice. There's so many different ways that you can cook. And it all comes down to how you like it.
How do you choose the mango?
Phenomenal question. Chopsticks. This mango was a little bit ripe, so it's kind of not having the crunch that I would like. What I do is when you pick up your mango, you can't shake it or anything. You have to feel it and press into it. And ideally what you want to do is when you press into the mango, you want it to just barely be able to leave a dent. If you push into it and it's too soft, you're going to get a product that's similar to this that's going to be a little bit soft and kind of mushy almost. So you want it to barely be able to leave a dent in it. Traditionally, they use green mangoes, so unripe mangoes for it. So you get that crunch and you get that sourness, which works as well. But I like when the mango's a little bit sweeter. Does the kimchi work with this dish? It does? Okay. We're going to try to get to the back and serve you as soon as possible. In the meantime, I'm going to move on to another dish. So earlier when I was growing up, well not earlier, but you know, about 8 or 9 years ago, that's the first time that I met Wonsuck. And Wonsuck introduced me to a lot of Korean food, such as jajang and gochujang used to bring for me, kimchi. And we had other Koreans at our school, and they would get kimchi sent to them from Korea in the jars, covered in duct tape. And I used to go nuts, so I've grown very fond of kimchi. And I try to use it in my cooking as much as I can, because it offers so much different flavor. Does everyone know what kimchi is here? No? Can someone answer that? What is kimchi? Pickled vegetable? Which vegetable are we talking about? Napa cabbage? Anything else?
Chili,
Mm-hmm.
garlic,
Yep.
salt. Lots of salt.
Well, you're almost a chef. You seem to know quite a bit. The next dish that we're going to move on to is the bulgogi rice paper wrap. So everyone familiar with rice paper wraps? You can get them round, you can get them square. So this is kind of unconventional, but I have a frying pan. I need something with a large enough surface area to fit the square. Whenever I use rice paper wraps, I like to use nori as well, seaweed. So you drop it into some hot water and it becomes translucent.
How hot is the water?
The water's very hot. You should use warm water. But if you use hot water, the process works a lot quicker. If it starts to stick up on itself, just kind of drop it right back down, loosen it up. And it's really important that when it gets to your cutting board, that you lay it out completely flat and straight. Any wrinkles in this will show up in the roll after. So nice and straight, you want to get it. Now what I like to do as well is to use some sushi seaweed, some nori. And I like the squares because the square goes right down on top. I made some bulgogi before, which is stands for barbecued beef. Yeah. I believe with brown sugar. There's no carrots in this one. There's a little bit of ginger, rice wine vinegar, soy sauce, brown sugar. Almost perfect. Korean. Almost. I'll just lay down some bulgogi here. I used ribeye for this as well. Sorry?
Goji?
Bulgogi. Sorry?
You boiling meat?
I pan fried it. Yeah. I pan fried it with just some garlic and some red onions. I'm gonna put that down a nice even layer. I have some enoki mushrooms here, which I think everyone sees but never uses. I'm just gonna put some enoki mushrooms down in there and a couple red peppers just for some color. Just like that. And what we're gonna do is roll this up. And essentially, when you roll it up and you put the first seam over, you want to kind of pull it back, just like you would do sushi. Pull it back so you get a nice roll. And if you pull too much, then it's going to rip. But you want to get a nice roll. So I'll keep rolling up and I pull back. Roll up and I pull back. And actually the cutting board helps you because the cutting board will hold that rice paper to it. So when you pull back, you don't just pull right off the cutting board. Nice and even.
Can you use a sushi mat to help you pull it?
You could use a sushi mat, but you don't need to. I think with the nori in it, it helps to roll. If you don't have the seaweed in there as that kind of support structure, it doesn't work out as well. So you're looking for a roll just like this. The trick when you're doing these is to have one sheet in the water whenever you're working. That way, as soon as one is done, you're ready to move on. But this water is very hot, so it's gonna move very quickly. This is another dish that I'm gonna top with kimchi. But you have different options too. Like I'll be making an aioli with some gochujang in a few minutes. You could take the kimchi, you could chop it up with some parsley and some cilantro and add tomatoes to it, and you have a kimchi salsa. So there's different ways that you could spin it off. But for this dish, it'll taste great just on top. So again, water's very hot. It comes to right away. Okay, just like that. Back in the water, just kind of loosen it up a bit. So very simple. Drop it down square onto the mat, onto your cutting board. You don't want any wrinkles, like I said before, because it'll show. I'm gonna show you something very cool now. I have here what we call microgreens. They're not the cheapest things in the world, but they help you to garnish plates. And they're the most beautiful things in the world. So let's say we made that mango salad and we put some of these right on top. It would look very pretty. Microgreens. And there's dozens and dozens of them. So I have two different kinds here, and I'll show you a really, really cool trick that we use. So with the nori, I'm just gonna take off a piece here, just like so, and put it down. And I'll follow the same process that I did before. I'll lay down some meat, just like so. We'll take some of the mushrooms that we have and some red peppers. To show you the versatility with these, I will even put in some cilantro in this one. With the cilantro, it's always best to use the sprig of it. It's very potent. It has a lot more flavor. And if you want, you can put the leaves as well. So I'll put 2 down like that. And then same thing. You get that first roll over, just like you would with the sushi. You could use a mat if you put saran wrap on it. And you just want to pull it back and roll over. The first couple rolls is not that important as the next few. So I roll over and I pull back. Now the neat thing with microgreens, if you're doing this, or if you want to chop up some parsley or something like that, I'll take some of the microgreens and I'll put them down at the top, just like this. And I'm going to roll over them now. So what happened is, I always love this so much. On the outside, you get these microgreens, and it looks way, way, way prettier. Can everyone see that? How you can see the microgreens on the outside now? So if you have the regular one, it looks great, but this way I find works much, much better with the greens on the outside. Now how I would serve this, I'll do a few more as they get passed around, but the ends, you can't really use them.
Now, how far in advance can you make these?
That's a very good question. If you're making these, I wouldn't make them too far in advance. I'd say a few hours. Because eventually what's going to happen is the bulgogi, the red pepper that's in there, is eventually going to start to break down the nori. So you want to do it just a couple hours in advance. And it's nice when it's fresh. So I'll cut pieces like this. As you cut, some tries to escape, but it actually looks better when it stands up. And pieces can go. And what I'll do is I'll just put these down. This is one of the Food Dudes platters that we use. And I'll top them each with a single piece of the kimchi that we have, the long sticks that we have. It looks really pretty. Just like so. I'll just drop it on the sheet down. I'll do a few more of these. 25?
Yeah, about so.
About 25 or so? Okay. I'll chop this one up too, Wansa.
30 wouldn't hurt.
And this is the one with the microgreens in it. You can see how pretty it looks. So I think I'll do them all with microgreens. I'm just going to put a garnish down on this plate so you have something pretty to look at before you go, Wansak. I will take a lemon, and I'm going to teach this to you. This is what you can do at home. Just if you have guests coming over, it looks a lot prettier. So take a lemon and take 2 slices from it. They don't have to be too thin or too thick. Just 2 regular slices, just like that. Now with one of them, you're going to cut a line right down, halfway down. Just like this. Okay, so right down the line. So now it can go both ways. If you have some parsley at home, or if you have microgreens, best case, or even some lettuce, take some of those microgreens, rest them right on top, and then you want to put the lemon wedge down like this. And it goes right on top, and it looks very pretty. So I'll put this down so as Wansa comes around, you can see that garnish. If it falls, put it back. So another cool thing too, this is just the garnish.
Oh, okay.
So it looks pretty. If you have black sesame seeds kicking around,
okay.
you could eat it,
Right.
but it's not on my menu. Look, some black sesame seeds to garnish it.
And can they use their hand to eat it?
Yeah, you can pick it up with your hands, absolutely. So again, this is definitely a very, very interesting fusion dish. It's not something that I don't think you'll see too many places, but we do a lot of Vietnamese and Asian summer spring rolls at work, so I thought this would be fairly interesting. And this is definitely a one-biter, just a one bite. Again, if you want it saltier, you can make it salty. How does it taste? It's interesting. Interesting. It's different, right? And it's the tighter you get the roll, the more bite you'll get, and the easier it is to cut. Otherwise, when you cut into it, everything just kind of falls out and it's loose. And this is the first time I've ever made bulgogi. So hopefully it tastes good. That's seaweed, exactly. When you put the seaweed, like I said before, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier. Seaweed. There are different kinds, but this is nori, yeah, so it's sushi seaweed.
N-O-R-Y. R-I, sorry.
And right in the seafood section, they have all different kinds, I noticed. So again, just gonna drop down the enoki mushrooms. Any other questions on this dish, ladies and gentlemen? Is it something that you think you can go home and do? Yes. Absolutely. Barbecued pork, Peking duck. You could do sweet and sour chicken. You can do anything. But you have to remember what you're putting inside the roll. Like for this, I used the bulgogi, so I know it's going to have the rice wine vinegar and the sweetness of the sugar. So I wanted the mushrooms, which are very bold, earthy flavor, and the peppers for some freshness, along with the cilantro. So if you were to do like a barbecue pork, you'd want something to cut all that sweetness that's in it, right? So you'd use something like green peppers, red peppers would work. You can even put rice in this too. Dipping sauces, you can do hoisin sauce or a peanut hoisin sauce. Again, I'm just gonna throw some microgreens down on this one. The platter, yeah. Our platters are actually very heavy. They're custom made for us. You'll see the Food Dudes sign is etched into it. So I'm just gonna make a couple more rolls just so everyone can try it. Very simple. The most rolls I had to roll in one sitting with the Food Dudes was 120. So I've had my practice. You find out what works and you find out what doesn't work, right? So again, you want a generous amount of filling when you do it, because if you don't, then you don't get a nice firm roll. So you want to put a decent amount of filling into it. And again, this is another thing like cutting up mangoes and peppers that just takes a lot of practice. So the cilantro works really well. Just going to put that down in the middle. Roll over. And bring it back. The first roll doesn't have to be perfect because you have a lot more rolls after that. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It's the subsequent rolls that do. Now if this is not tight enough, I can feel it's not too tight, so I'm going to try and tighten it up a bit. If it's not tight enough, then when you go to cut it, it'll be very loose. Again, microgreens in the end here. You don't have to use microgreens, like I said, you can use parsley or cilantro. It all looks very pretty. It's also good to wring this off when it comes out of the water, so it's not too wet and slippery. It's always better to let these rest a bit after you roll them, just because the outside seam of the rice paper will tend to come undone a bit because it's still a little bit wet. As it dries, but I'll plate these right away for you. If it comes off, you can just roll it right back around. How does it look?
It looks amazing.
Can you do this if you go home?
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect, you're gonna make it for me.
Okay, done.
See, it's already starting to stick to my hand, so as it dries, it's good to go. Just like that. See how it's sticking to my hand? Mm-hmm. So that means it's just gonna start sticking to itself. It just needs a little second to dry. And I'm gonna top this with a little bit of kimchi. 2 more rolls, you think? Everyone in the back hasn't had a chance to try this yet, right?
2 more, yeah, 2 more would be good.
I see my friend there is getting a little bit hungry.
Yeah.
We'll get to you right away. Yeah, that can go. Good luck, and I'm just going to fix this. Yeah, very cute, very interesting, and it's a good point that you raised about can you use other things when you're making these. And yeah, you can put anything. You can make them all vegetarian. You know what'd be really cool too? You can put the mango salad in here. Why not? Beautiful colors. It'd be vegetarian. Just want to wring the water off it. Dry cutting board, so it clings to your cutting board or your work surface. Cutting boards work very well. Just stretch it out, no creases. Has anyone worked with rice paper rolls before here? You have? And what kind of filling did you use in them? Just vegetables and stuff? No meat? Some meat? Shrimp and pork? Very nice. And did you have some vegetables in there with the shrimp and pork?
That would be okay.
The last one will be okay? Okay. Perfect. And what kind, did you have a sauce to go with that or? Soy, yeah, that's nice. Fish sauce, soy sauce, beautiful. Oh, this is gonna be a big guy. One of the bigger ones. Again, it's really important that your cutting board's dry because as I'm pulling back, I'm tightening it. And if your cutting board's wet, the rice paper won't stick to it. So the tighter it is, the better a roll you can get. Everyone that's tried it, any suggestions? Like, would you want it spicier, lacking flavor, acid, like want it sweeter, hot sauce? When you use the seaweed, it's so much easier to roll because this rice paper, when it's wet, is like it's like gelatin. It's so dangly, but this gives it some structure. So when you use the nori in it, it adds more flavor, it adds color, and it's just easier to roll. Because if this isn't there, it's much more difficult to roll. You have that loose gelatin kind of rice paper with all these ingredients and like, it's much more difficult. The next dish I'm gonna move on to after this is a black sesame crusted tuna dish. Everyone likes tuna here? Has anyone crusted it with sesame seeds before? Nobody? Has anyone heard of this?
Yes.
Okay, because the tuna dish is gonna be relatively raw. But it's phenomenal. It's something that we do a lot at work. Everyone got a chance to look at the garnish too? Oh, it's falling apart. If you guys would like, I'd show you a couple more garnishes as we go along so you get some ideas. Yeah, it's a good idea? Okay, great.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Anyone like one more?
Make sure everyone had though, right? Everyone tried it? Did you get one at the back? Did you try one? No? Not hungry?
All right, last one. Okay. All right.
But for the tuna dish, I need a really, really hot pan, so I'm gonna turn this back on. So in this bowl, what it's gonna be, we're gonna do a black and sesame crusted tuna dish. And this is gonna be served on an Asian pear and green apple salad. It's delicious. And we're gonna do a gochujang aioli. So I'm gonna use gochujang, mix it with some mayonnaise and some lemon juice, and we'll have a really nice sauce. Very, very, very exciting. So in a bowl, I will have some Asian pear. Asian pear. Yeah, it has a lot more crunch to it, a lot more water content. Green apple. Yeah, just chop.
You just soak it in water or you salt the water?
Lemon water. Just fill it up with some water and put half a lemon juice, half a lemon, and strain it out after. And it's still oxidized a little bit. It was done a while ago, but it would be completely brown if this step wasn't taken. Green apple, Asian pear, into a bowl, julienne. So honey's going in, rice wine vinegar. So again, you can see right away what I'm infusing this with, sweet, sour, right away. We'll put a little bit of sesame oil, again, super strong sesame oil. Gonna get some salt in here. Now there's different things you can add to this now. You can add other fruits or vegetables, but I wanna keep it fairly simple, fairly neutral. Just for some added color, I'm gonna chop in some parsley to it. So again, this is the green apple and Asian pear salad. Just chop up a green apple, chop up an Asian pear, rice wine vinegar, sesame oil, a little bit of honey. The parsley, again, doesn't impart too much flavor, but it's healthy, and it adds a lot of nice color. So that's why I use it in this dish. Parsley's gonna go in. Give this a good mix with the rice wine vinegar, the honey, the salt. You could use sugar as well if you want. A little bit of sesame oil for that nuttiness. And just for some more added color, I'm gonna hit it with just a little bit of black sesame seeds. Not too many. So you end up with this kind of product. It's all stringy and crunchy, very nice, very fresh, very pretty. So my pan has been on this whole time, and you want to get this pan hot, hotter than you would for the shrimp, smoking hot. And I'll show you why. I have a tuna steak here, yeah.
Do you roast the sesame seed?
The black ones are not roasted, the white ones are. But the reason why I'm not toasting them before I crust them is because they get toasted in the pan. Anyways, and I'll show you that right now. So tuna steak, about 1 inch thick. Cut this into more manageable portions. So I'll cut it right in half. Just trim off a little bit. You could keep this end piece, it's lost a little bit of color, but I would discard that. There's a little bit of black here from the bloodline of the tuna, so I'm just gonna remove that as well, nice and clean. So you have these two nice steaks, I would say. Now what I'm gonna do with them is roll them in some soy sauce, and then I'm after gonna roll them in the black sesame seeds. I have these handy trays here, so I'm just gonna put them to use. So you see my pan smoking? That's exactly where you want it. I'm not using all the soy sauce, I'm just rolling the tuna in it. Just as you would any protein or meat before you cook it, you hit it with salt and pepper. I'm not gonna use pepper with this dish, but I will use the soy sauce, and you'll see how I just roll it. This is a fairly standard Kikkoman, I think. Kikkoman, very popular brand. I believe you find this in most places. Sesame seeds down. Those are black sesame seeds. So all I do is, and this is very simple, there's no magic, because when you taste it, I think you're gonna think I did something that I didn't. Tuna is just gonna go rolled into the soy sauce, just like that. You might think it's a lot of soy sauce, but I'm brushing a little bit of it off. And you have to remember, the soy sauce is not penetrating to the middle of the tuna. So when you bite into it, it's only on the outside, right? And I'm gonna generously coat it in black sesame seeds. And the way to do that is just to keep rolling it. So the fingerprints that you leave on this eventually get covered up. And you want a really good crust of sesame seeds on this. It would help if you had a bigger plate, so it's kind of squished in here. But I'll just kind of roll it back and forth. That one's done. Again, get my pan smoking hot again. I don't want too much oil in the pan for this dish because the sesame seeds will soak that up. So just a little bit of oil. And repeat the process. Gonna roll this in soy sauce. Shake a bit of this off and into the sesame seeds. If you have bigger plates, then it's a lot easier, but I'm kind of just squishing it in here a bit. And you really want it coated well with the sesame seeds, so you got a nice crust. And drop this down, pat it down a little bit. So it's just the tuna, the soy sauce, and the sesame seeds in there.
Don't you think the sesame seeds get burned instantly?
Within 30 seconds, they will burn,
Yeah.
100%. But I'm trying to get a raw product on the tuna. I'm just gonna try and clean this up a little bit. I wanna get a raw product on the tuna. So I'm gonna flip it in 7 seconds. Sorry? As of right now, I don't believe so. So this has been down for about 15-20 seconds. Thank you for asking. 15-20 seconds. And I'm just going to flip it over on the other side. You can just kind of hold it there. If you find that it's not standing up, you can move it to the outside of the pan and lean it up against the side of the pan. So right now these are standing up in here, and it's gonna go down for another 10 seconds or so. The first side is always a little bit longer. I drop it on the side now, you can see. Okay. What I'm trying to do is create a white ring. Oh, how you guys doing? What I'm trying to do is create a white ring around the tuna, but the inside is going to be completely raw, dead center. So we're looking at 15 seconds per side, a little bit longer on the first one. So again, the last side now. A good trick to know if you're getting this white ring is to check the end piece, because you can see. So about 15 seconds we're looking at per side. If it's not raw in the middle and it's fully cooked through, then I would reckon that you are wasting a good piece of tuna steak. And you'll see why. Just a couple more seconds. And again, like it was mentioned before, if you leave this in there too long, it definitely will burn. It's best to let this rest when it comes out. Time is not a luxury that I have today. So I'm gonna get right into it. The salad is good to go. Anyone want to test the salad before I send it out to make sure that I don't get sent home early? Anybody want to try? Would you like to try, sir? You're okay? We try it eventually. Actually, before we move on to the tuna, I'm gonna make a quick sauce for you here. So what I'll take is a bit of mayo that we have. Everyone has mayonnaise at home for the most part. Yep, it's mayo. And then we'll take gochujang. What is gochujang?
Very spicy.
Very spicy, but what is it exactly? Anybody know?
Soybean.
Pepper paste? Chili paste made from what?
Soybean.
Soybean?
Yes.
Soybean, pepper, chili. Very spicy.
Salt.
Very delicious. Salt, garlic, of course, the additional flavorings. I'll just use this bowl to make a quick mix. So into this bowl, I'm gonna put a good amount of mayo, like so. And then I'm gonna add some gochujang to it. Not too much. Maybe about this much is gonna go into it. And I'm gonna give this a good stir. So this is gonna be relatively spicy, but you're gonna see how much I use. It's not that much at all. Well, to make an aioli, it's mayonnaise based. So to use something else, it wouldn't be an aioli. It would be a sauce or another condiment that you're using. But for this application, an aioli, it's always going to be mayonnaise based. In our kitchen, we make mayonnaise from scratch, which is just egg yolks, oil, a little bit of mustard. Oh, hello, sous chef. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm amazing. Gochujang aioli here. I brought a squeeze bottle from work. You can get them at the dollar store, but they're great. I love them. I'm just gonna pour this in carefully. Just like that. And I'll make a little bit more, so I'll keep that container. That's what we're gonna use. So with the tuna, really sharp knife, and you wanna cut small pieces into it. So you see the product that you have, how it's white around the ring? The inside is dead center, dead raw. That's definitely the product you want. Very sharp knife. If it's catching, flip it over. There you go.
It almost looks like medium rare.
This is less than medium rare. It's dead raw in the middle. So this would be referred to as rare. But then again, it's like sushi. It's the same thing. This is sushi grade tuna that was used. This is perfectly good for you. I'm actually gonna plate this up on the plates if that's okay. Do we have enough plates?
Oh, okay.
Okay, great. It's all done, good to go. It's hot in here. Just for the salad, remember, it's sweet, it's tart, it's crunchy, it's fresh. Black sesame seeds for color. You're just gonna use a little bit on the plate. Just like that. Then on top of each one, they get a piece of tuna. And again, this is very simple. I pretty much did this from start to finish here. This is something that you can definitely do at home. Squeeze bottle. And you'll put a little dollop on top of that tuna, of the gochujang aioli. It's not too spicy, but you have to realize there's only like a little drop going on top of each one. If I were to go crazy and spray it all over the plate, then it would get very spicy at that point. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I'm sure you're gonna love it. Again, I didn't test for any seasoning in this. I've done it a few times, but again, if you find that you want it sweeter or saltier, it's definitely doable. How does it taste so far? Nice fresh salad. Get that rice wine vinegar. Anytime you make a dressing for a salad, typically has acid and oil into it, right? Usually the acid is 1 part to 3 parts oil. So if you have a salad dressing, you would have balsamic vinegar, 1 cup, or let's say 1/3 of a cup, and then you'd have a full cup of oil. So for this, I just used rice wine vinegar and no oil, so it's very tangy and very tart. The green apple is also tart as well, so it's a very fresh, summery salad. This is another dish that if you had microgreens kicking around, you could take some and put them on top, and it would add height and color, and it would look so pretty on top, right? So microgreens are something to keep in mind, or edible flowers are getting very popular these days. No matter how much you sprinkled it on top after and rolled it in, it wouldn't stick as much because I rolled it in soy sauce first and crusted it.
When you serve, you can sprinkle it.
Yeah, but what you want though, is you want to be able to see this white ring and this rawness in the middle, and then it crusted on the outside. So if you sprinkle the black sesame seed on it, you kind of lose it and it would be white. It's also cool to know that it's crusted completely black and pretty around.
Yes.
And then you have the contrast. You have 1, 2, 3 different colors. So I wouldn't sprinkle it. It's all about crusting it. And then searing that into it. So you get the toasted sesame and you're searing that into the tuna product, sticking it to it.
It's unhealthy.
Sorry?
It's unhealthy.
Doing the toasted sesame?
Like that, it's burned.
No, this is not burnt. Well, you saw like 15 seconds. Does it taste burnt, the tuna?
No, not at all.
Not at all. 15 seconds aside. The seeds don't burn right away, because if they did, how would you toast these? These are untoasted sesame seeds. So to toast them, you would just put the sesame seeds in the pan and toss them for 20, 30 seconds. So I didn't have it down for more than 20 or 30 seconds on any other side. And if it was burnt, you'd get that bitter flavor. How did it taste? 2 thumbs up. Okay, great. I'll take it. I'll take it. So the tuna, if you go shopping, what are you looking for? I always like to get sushi grade tuna. There's different types, but sushi grade tuna is always best, and they definitely have it here. If you can get the tuna steak, like I did, that nice rectangle, you just trim it up into a nice rectangle, or you can have uneven pieces, but you want to get 2 nice, we always do kind of logs at the kitchen, and it works well because you have that perfect square, so you can do 15 seconds aside, 15, 15, 15, and so on and so forth. So you want sushi grade tuna, and you want it to be fresh. When you get home and you smell the tuna, if it smells fishy or slimy or sticky, then you definitely don't want to use it, and you want to return that to wherever you bought it from.
What was the sauce in
the salad?
Teriyaki?
It's just rice wine vinegar for the tartness and sourness, and then some honey to cut that and make it a bit sweet. And then I added a little bit of sesame oil, just for some nuttiness, and you also have the sesame seeds in it. Also, after the class is done, I'm going to be creating I'm going to be writing up these recipes that I did today, and we're going to have them posted on Galleria's website. So anything that you saw today, and if you want to see it again, and also you can take these recipes and put your spin on them. If you want them spicier or saltier, sweeter, whatever the case may be, that's totally fine. Everyone familiar with what a quesadilla is? Everyone had a quesadilla? You ever had a kimchi quesadilla? I hope not. So kimchi is essentially the theme today. It's one of the most popular Korean ingredients that exist. It's one of my favorite ingredients, one of my favorite flavors. I love pickled dishes like that. But we're going to make kimchi quesadillas. And I'll show you how simple this dish is. A little trick, if your cutting board gets dirty, you can flip it over. and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. Quesadillas are also really fun. The same way I did the rice paper wraps before, there's a whole plethora of things that you could put into them. So I'm gonna get both pans going for this one. Make sure they work, make sure they're clean. So tortillas that you get at the store, just these ones are fine. These are original, but you can get large if you want as well, and I find large are a bit better. Oh, you might want to stay for this one. So I'm just gonna lay out the tortillas on the side table here, and I'll do a couple in front of me so you can see. So very simple. Tortillas that you can get them flavored. I like plain tortillas because you can add the flavor to them. So, put down a tortilla. Quesadillas always have cheese and some other topping inside. So now why would I use mozzarella cheese for this dish? There's there's two reasons. Yeah, one is because it melts really well. And what's the other one? Sorry? You're going places. It does not have much flavor. Exactly right. So mozzarella, if you were to use like an aged cheddar or a jalapeno Havarti, it would take over the flavor of the kimchi. You really just want a cheese that's gonna allow it to melt and seal together. So I'm gonna put mozzarella down in these, and I'll show you how we plate these up after. You'll be very impressed. And this is something that you can definitely do at home. This is one of the easiest dishes and most effective dishes that I know of. We do quesadillas with mango salad and brie cheese. We do them with manchego cheese, which is a really popular Spanish cheese, and pear. The Asian pear works really well. So there's so many different things that you can put in these quesadillas. You can do brie cheese with peaches. There's all kinds of cool stuff that you can do. So just on one half, I've laid down the mozzarella cheese. And I'll need a fairly generous portion of kimchi. And I'm 100% taking this jar home when I leave. Yep. So I need a very generous amount. And with the kimchi, you can leave it whole. I'm just gonna roughly chop it quickly. I don't need to chop it down too much, but just a little bit of a chop just to break through it. And then I'm gonna layer it down. You don't wanna put too much into this because it'll become soggy and it won't fry properly. Just enough so that when I cut them, you'll be able to taste it in every bite. And now, if this isn't a fusion dish, I don't know what is, but this is essentially Korea meets Mexico. Great, and now what I'll do is I'll finish it off with just a little bit more cheese. While I'm doing this, I'll get my pans, both my pans hot. Just a little bit more cheese on top. Again, mozzarella, very important, melts very well. Doesn't offer too much flavor. You want a cheese that melts. You can't use like a Stilton or a cheese that just kind of crumbles. It's not gonna work very well. So it'll stick on both sides. Exactly. That's really important to do. Very, very important to do. These are all done. Now when you're making quesadillas, the way to get them very brown on both sides is by using a fairly generous amount of oil. I won't use as much oil as we do when we cater, but the reason why we use that much oil is because every guest gets a little sliver of it, and it lets it brown very, very well. So that's why we use a lot of oil, but I'm not gonna use too much today. And again, once you have the half moon, you just fold it over. So you end up with a finished product, well not a finished product, but a prep product that looks like this, just about a half moon. Very simple. So tortillas, kimchi, mozzarella. And they call me a chef. No, I'm kidding. While the pans are getting hot, I'm just gonna make a little, as much as I can of the gochujang aioli because I'll need quite a bit. So I'll probably use up all the mayo that we have here. What else could I add to this, this aioli? And again, aioli is something that's mayo based, a sauce that's mayo based. Any ideas what I could add? Maybe some cooked garlic. Onion, garlic. Some lemon zest, maybe some olive oil, some maple syrup, honey. And I'm not just making like just shouting things out, like these are all things that would work very well. But I'll keep it quite natural. Did you taste the aioli on the tuna? And how did it taste?
It was good.
Reason why is because you have two ingredients you're putting together that do the work for you. The mayo and the gochujang are all already so flavorful and so flavor packed that you don't have to do much else after. Just gotta be able to combine ingredients that work well with each other. So just gonna mix this up. Can you get this in the squeeze bottle for me, sir? Just yeah. You can put it down. Please try to get all of it. So again, the pan's very hot, smoking. Just gonna turn it down a bit, make sure it's coated well with the oil. Over here, we're just about at the smoke stage. And these guys go down. Now there's a technique to doing these. Sorry? No, these are just standard frying pans. Ceramic pans are very popular though these days. They retain heat very well, they're healthy. Yeah, well, it started at high heat, it's at medium heat now. So again, I'm just gonna take a look underneath and see, how do you flip these in the pan? Can everyone see from here? The way you flip these, instead of making a big mess, you take one and you pull it over the other, like that, and you push them down to the end. And you take it and flip it over like that. This guy, just like this. That's the color that you want to get. Without the right amount of oil, you're not going to get that kind of color. Once the other side is browned very well, you can take them out. Using the same lemon that we used before, that I just cut off 2 slices, I'm going to take off another big chunk, probably about 1/2 inch thick. Nice and even, a nice wheel. So you're working with this size wheel, about 1/2 inch thick. Very, very cool. Don't get distracted here. Nice color. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to cut almost all the way through. So I'm going to cut close to the top. And I'm not going to cut right the way through. But this is a play on the first garnish that I showed you. Looks very cool. So you cut and just flip this guy up a bit. Just a little touch more. Just like that, so it's barely holding on there. You can see it's all the way cut through. Close to where it's connected, if you put that same slit that we put before, you can make the same kind of garnish happen, but with a bigger base. And it's all one piece, so you're using one lemon. Yeah. Just like that, so very simple. These are things I used to see and I'm like, my God, how did they do these things? Now you know. So what you could do is take a big bed of microgreens on a plate and you can sit this right on top, just like that. And a couple more microgreens on top. You'll see this garnish as it comes around. Just gonna check these quesos. These guys are done as well. If you get a little bit of color on them like this, I'd say that's perfect. You gotta look, because again, everyone's gonna get a little wedge. So it's nicely charred. Proper, true quesadilla. How I would plate this, cut them in half. You can cut them into 8. Sometimes we do 10 if we're really busy, or 6. But these ones, I'll give you nice portions of them. Just like that, nice little wedges. Beautiful color. In half, little triangles. These would go on the platter. If you have a platter at home, I like putting them any which way that they go. They don't have to be perfect. Just like that, all over the place. Now with each one, with the aioli that I'm going to use, there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can put them on each one. You can put them on each one like a streak, or if you have a squeeze bottle, and it looks super pretty on that platter, right? So you can see. Another thing I want to note is those are really nice and golden brown. When I didn't put additional oil in the pan, you don't get that nice beaming golden brown color. It's healthier, it's less oil, but for the presentation aspect, that nice golden brown will come from using oil. And this is almost a little bit dry. It's a very, very simple dish. This is essentially 1, 2, 3, 5 ingredients, the entire dish, between the mayo and everything. So if you're a kimchi fan, this should be pretty exciting. This is completely start to finish that I did this. Very simple. Assemble the quesadillas, fry them off, have a sauce to go with it. Very, very simple. Have you seen this before? Kimchi quesadilla? No? Yeah. Okay, good. I thought it'd be very interesting. We do a lot of quesadillas. We put a lot of different things into them. So I thought this would be pretty exciting to do. I love kimchi so much. I don't know. I dream about it. I love it so much. So I like to use it in many different ways, however ways I can. And quesadillas are also really fun and very easy to make. With these ones, I'll just put a streak down. I'm not going to rain it, but I'll put a streak down. Everyone that was here from the beginning, what was your favorite of the 4 dishes? The 2 salads. I wanted to do 2 salads because it's also we're in the heat of summer right now, and it's perfect. There's no better time to have a nice, refreshing salad. That tuna one and the mango salad. If you're sitting on the patio or you're sitting outside in your backyard, on your front porch, very refreshing, very cooling, nice summery colors. It just works really well. You guys like it? It's good. It's different. Crunchy. Get the kimchi. Cheesy. Refreshing. Beautiful. Very simple. It's 5 ingredients, the whole thing. And then use gochujang with mayo, just for a little bit of a sauce. Regular tortillas. You could use whole wheat. Of course, some may argue there's not that much flavor in them. They taste grainier and stuff. It is a different color. That's definitely way better for you. It's way healthier for you. But we always use white. And we get a nice finished product with the golden brown color. It works really well. But they have like all kinds of different infused ones. I'm not sure if they have all the flavors here. But you can use any tortilla that you want. I like the large ones. These are original, but very simple. And I wouldn't go with corn tortillas, just wheat tortillas. The corn ones, when you fold them over, they tend to crack. They don't heat up very well. So I would recommend definitely going with these ones. But quesadilla is very simple. You can get creative. And yeah, basically my email address is Devin, D-E-V-A-N, @thefooddudes.com. So any questions on anything that happened here today, or any culinary, just keep it culinary. Going forward, any questions that you have at all regarding any cooking matters, definitely shoot me an email and I'll get back to you right away. I encourage you to message me and ask me any questions that you have. So all in all, that is the fusion show that I put on. Thank you for coming.